Welcome to the Scoop School podcast, where we tackle your conundrums about the retail ice cream and frozen dessert business. And now, here's your host. He believes both revenge and dessert should always be served cold. The ice cream bloke and self-appointed headmaster of Scoop School, Steve Christensen.
G'day ice cream lovers, my name's Steve Christensen. Welcome to this episode of the podcast, whether you're listening on iTunes or on one of our websites or watching us in Technicolor here in our facility in St. Louis, Missouri. We welcome you. And we also welcome our episode sponsor, which is Carpigiani. Now Carpigiani, as most people know, very, very well known in the industry of batch freezing. They make an incredible array of batch freezers, those that heat and cool to make basically anything you want in the process of ice cream toppings as well as ice cream desserts. They also have a great range of soft serve equipment, both pump and gravity, and they do a really good job with the novelties as well. So if you'd like to get more information on the Carpigiani brand, you can simply Google Carpigiani, that's C-A-R-P-I-G-I-A-N-I, not Carpet Johnny, but Carpigiani, or go to carpigianiusa.com. We appreciate their episode sponsorship. Now this particular episode we're going to be talking about air. And if you are new to the ice cream business or looking into the ice cream business, one of the terms that we often refer to in the ice cream business is overrun. And overrun is simply a term that we use to specify or quantify how much air or overrun is in a particular type of ice cream. Now, overrun we generally talk to like a percentage, so it's a certain percentage overrun, a 20% overrun, a 50% overrun, a 100% overrun. And how we calculate that air, or that air content, is that we basically calculate out the liquid that goes into a particular machine and the product that we get out. So if, for example, I'm taking 1 gallon of ice cream mix, I pour it into my ice cream machine, and I get 2 gallons of product back out, frozen product, then that product is said to be 100% overrun. I've basically doubled the volume of my mix by adding air to it. And so, typically speaking, a low overrun, or probably the lowest overrun product, is frozen custard at about 20% overrun, a very rich, thick, dense product. A high scale overrun would be 80 to 100% overrun. Now, can you put as much air in it as you would like? Most people new to the industry say, well, if air is free, why don't I just pump this thing full of air and I make more money? Well, there's two things working against you. The first of which is the federal government, because the standards of identity for ice cream say that ice cream should not have more than 100% overrun. So it's not like you'll have federal agents dropping from the roof and testing the air content of your ice cream, but you could receive a complaint from one of your customers and you could be in hot water. So you don't want to have anything more than 100% overrun in your ice cream while you are selling it. But the second, and probably the most important, is that there is a perception in the marketplace, in your customer's mind, that if your ice cream is very light, it's low quality. And sometimes you'll go to the grocery store and you'll see these gallon or gallon and a half tubs of ice cream, and when you go to pick them up, you'll basically almost yank them to the ceiling because you think, or you expect, that they're going to be a lot heavier than what they are. So a much higher overrun product gives the perception of lower quality. So somewhere in the middle is this 40 to 60% overrun, and that's where most products lie. Now, a couple of things that I want to mention. In very low fat products or no fat products, your overrun is typically lower. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up a stainless steel bowl of water here, and I can whisk as much as I want this water. And if you're listening on the podcast, that's the sound of me whisking water. I'm never going to get any expansion because there's no fat in that water or in that liquid to capture the air and to expand. Now, if I put a 38% heavy whipping cream in that bowl and I start to whip it up, we all know what happens. The air is enveloped or folded into the cream and we get expansion. So that's just a quick lesson on overrun. The product that you have typically determines the overrun, particularly the fat content. Now that's true in batch freezers because you've typically got a barrel there where the auger or the beater shaft is turning and agitating your mix under that freezing conditions. you can manipulate overrun in some way, shape or form with either beta speed, fat content, but more than likely overrun can be very well manipulated if you have a pump soft serve machine, because that pump is actually pumping air into your product and you can govern how much air goes into that. So if you have a pump or a pressurized soft serve machine, you do have the ability to change that overrun dramatically from 40% up to 80%, maybe higher. In a batch freezer, you're going to struggle with that a little bit unless your batch freezer has some form of speed reducer where you can increase or decrease the batch freezer or the auger rotation. But even then, there's not a huge scope of overrun manipulation or overrun variance. So anyway, it's important to understand overrun. It's important to know what overrun your product has as a percentage standpoint, and the perception that your customer has when they're tasting your product based on how much air there is in that product. Hope that makes sense. If you need more information, actually there is a great video that we have on overrun in our batch freezing section at scoopschool.online, so I'd recommend you have a look at that, or join us in a subscription program where you get access to all of our videos for one low monthly price. Thanks for tuning in. Great to have you here, and again, thank you to Carpigiani being our episode sponsor. Keep on scooping, folks. We'll see you in the next podcast.